talk about masks and face coverings since the majority of the Bay Area now has them mandated. You got to wear them out in public, especially in certain circumstances. So post your questions on our Facebook live stream, YouTube Live, or check out our Instagram stories to submit a question. But first, let's get to our other expert about privacy and security, as many of us are now working from home or our kids are going to school from home. Joining us is Steve Grobman, the Chief Technology Officer at McAfee, and we have a whole lot to cover with you. So, Steve, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, the pandemic is stressful enough for a lot of us. Adding to that is the fact that we seem to be seeing a lot of hacks and scams as a result of everybody suddenly working from home or going to school from home. Can you talk to us about what you've noticed out there?
Absolutely. So we've seen cyber criminals really take advantage of the fears as well as all of the situations that are a result of the current global health crisis. Every day, we see thousands of domains created for the purpose of phishing attacks against ordinary people out there. So essentially, sending out emails that point them to coronavirus or COVID-19 domains to give information purportedly about healthcare, but it's actually a trick to have them click on a link, download malware, and then very often hold them for ransom or attempt to steal sensitive information. And we're seeing this both from the health side, but also a lot of scams are really focused on the stimulus, trying to entice people to click on things related to the monetary aspects as well.
I have to confess, I fell victim to something myself. It was disguised as a direct message from a trusted source, and it turned out it was a fake mask selling website. And of course, it was a scam. And so it was quickly taken off about a week later. And I thought, wow, usually I'm pretty careful. But do you sense that at a time like this, people can be a little less careful or let their guards down? Or is it just that we are more easily tricked because of how desperate we are for information?
It's that people are looking for answers. They're looking for products. They're looking for things like masks. And a lot of the sites that they're comfortable going to, your Amazons, your Targets, your Walmarts, they're often out of stock. So therefore, when they do the Google search and they see that there are masks on a different site and it says in stock, give me your credit card, they're actually falling victim to that. And it's a big risk because a lot of these sites are then very rapidly selling that information on the dark web. We see that really anything is available for sale on the dark web, whether it's credit card numbers, social security numbers, bank account numbers. So people really need to have their guard up at this point in time.
Okay, so how can we watch out for those red flags? What do they look like?
So one of the key things to do is stay with sites that you know and trust. So when you think about especially some of the most important aspects of the current situation, like the stimulus elements of the financial crisis, only get information from sites that end in .gov. So the IRS, irs.gov, or the Social Security Administration, SSA.gov, they have very informative information on how to get your stimulus check or how to get information on applying for various benefits. If you get either an email or even what we call vishing, which is phone-based phishing, where you get a text from something that claims to be a government agency or another agency to help you get money, be very concerned and make sure that you're the one initiating any sort of transaction.
Okay. I've certainly gotten texts as well, like your stimulus check is ready, click on this. And of course, if they were legit, they would probably never send that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I do want to ask you then, if there's a danger, a very real danger of our information getting out there, how can we sort of monitor, what's gotten out or, hey, is my credit rating affected? What's happening? How can we monitor that?
So there's a few things that everybody needs to do. First off, they have to recognize that as we're all practicing social distancing, working from home, using our information technology assets a lot more aggressively, we really become part of an IT department. So we need to make sure that all of our devices are up to date, have security software, and that includes not only your computers, but things like your home routers. So make sure that your firmware is up to date, so that an adversary isn't going to go and potentially take advantage of what we call a vulnerability. In addition to that, as you mentioned, it's critical you monitor all of the places that a cyber criminal might attempt to get access to. Watch your bank accounts, watch all of your financial statements. Nothing suspicious on any of those activities.
Okay, I want to talk about the unique risk that comes from everybody suddenly working from home. When you're working at your office, right, you're on this network that you think you have cybersecurity professionals and IT people and good threat detection in place, but suddenly when you're working at home, can you assume that your company, whatever they've set up for you, is also still protecting you?
So what we've seen is companies have really needed to move to a hybrid approach where the companies are able to still manage large parts of security, even for the remote workers, but they are now reliant on those remote workers doing a lot of things themselves as well. Some businesses allow employees to take home company laptops or company computers that are well managed. Other organizations have turned to letting employees use their own personal computers for company business. And in those cases, it's very important that those home PCs are secured and don't pose an additional risk to the company's environment. It's also important that all of the network infrastructure, things like your wireless networks, are up to date and secure.
All right, Steve Grobman with McAfee, certainly a very important topic, and it's not going to go away anytime soon, this threat that's out there. So we hope to keep the conversation going. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're about to get into another topic that affects just about everybody, certainly here in the Bay Area, and that is face coverings. What works, what doesn't work, tips and tricks to take your coverings to the next level, and much more. That's next.
And we're in commercial break.
All right, should we talk to somebody during this break? Got it. Thank you, Steve. All right. Eric, can you hear me?
He cannot.
Oh.
He can relay through me.
Gee, that is so inconvenient. Hate to make you a middleman. You're busy enough.
Just call me Gelman.
Hi, Gelman.
We are back in a minute and a half.
All right. Hi, folks. Thanks for sticking with us on the live stream. Next, we're going to talk to an expert, someone who's been advocating masks for all for a while now. I would say since February we started talking to him, before counties really adopted rules on wearing face coverings. So he's going to talk about the latest research and what it means for the Bay Area. And so if you haven't yet, please post your question. That's actually what I'm doing right now, to check to see what you guys have posted. And I'll try to address some of them. Wow.
30 seconds.
Ooh, 30 seconds. Okay. Let me pull your questions up.
This is David Ford with KGOT.
Feel like, okay, where's our help, right? Some people are asking about stimulus checks. Okay, going for a walk. Do you need one when you're going for a walk?
15 seconds.
Give me a
Okay.
thumbs up if you can hear me.
Great. These are really great
Awesome, thank
questions.
you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We We are back with face coverings in public now mandated across most of the Bay Area, 6 counties. You probably have lingering questions. So we know just the person to answer those questions and also to show us 2 more ways to easily make a mask using stuff you have at home. University of San Francisco data scientist and founder of Masks for All, Jeremy Howard, joins us once again. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you.
Hello there. Nice to see you too.
I know, I can't wait to get to the mask making because I just think that's so useful for many people. But first, I would like to clarify for our viewers under what situations they need to wear a mask now when they're out and about in the Bay Area.
Sure.
So let's talk about when they're absolutely required.
Yeah, so they're absolutely required both legally and practically. They're nicely aligned, which makes it easy. Basically, whenever you're out and about, except when you're exercising, not when you're at home, and not when you're in the car with family members or on your own. In those situations, there is no requirement under the orders to wear a mask.
Okay. In fact, that is, you just answered Jonathan Rosamond's question. He asked, do I need to wear a mask if I'm just going to take a walk around the neighborhood? Social distancing has been finalized along the sidewalk. So you just said it's not necessary, and of course it's not legally required, but should you? I mean, could it be extra beneficial given what happens when you're exercising?
You know, I mean, it depends how cautious you want to be. I haven't been able to find any documented cases in the scientific literature of transmission occurring in that situation. Transmission outside in general is about 20 times less common than transmission indoors. And the transmission that does tend to occur outside tends to be at things like sports events, Mardi Gras, sing-alongs, lots of people getting together and making a lot of noise. Mm-hmm. But, you know, again, if you want to be careful, you may as well, particularly if it's not windy, if you're sitting close to somebody outside for a while, those kinds of situations, you may as well be careful. Personally, when I'm jogging, I try to make sure I'm not jogging right behind somebody, so I'm not kind of in their slipstream. And of course, I try to make sure that there's a 6 feet distance whenever I'm passing by. So I try to kind of wave and find a way to navigate with people so that we all stay out of each other's way.
That's right. You know, I do want to ask you because I see a new survey by True Public out today that shows 29% of Americans refuse to wear a mask when they leave the home. But that does mean 2/3 are now either doing it all the time or open to the idea. Do you consider actually that's a pretty big shift in attitude in about 1 month?
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I'm Australian born. I'm now, you know, based in San Francisco. Honestly, I never thought this would happen in my lifetime. I never used to wear a mask. I never cared about masks until I studied the science around this. Mm-hmm. And if you had asked me, would people in America be wearing masks like more than half talking about it, I would have been like, no way that's going to happen. But turns out when our lives are on the line, we can change our behavior.
Absolutely. And I think there's still some confusion over the purpose of a mask, right? Is it that when we wear one, we're protecting ourselves or are we protecting others?
Well, you've set up a nice segue here, Kristen. So the basic mask is largely about protecting other people. Here's the thing. When you're breathing in a mask, it actually creates a little humid atmosphere in that tiny space in front of your mouth. And the droplets that come out of your mouth stay big enough to be captured by the cloth mask. So that works really well. So that means that if you're infected and don't know it, and remember half of infections come from people that are infected and don't know it, you can protect other people from your possibly infectious droplets by wearing a mask. It helps protect you a bit as well, but not as much, because once, you know, if somebody around you doesn't have a mask on and they're breathing or talking, the droplets come out and they evaporate. Then after they evaporate, they become so small that to catch them requires some special tricks, which I can show you if you're interested.
Right, which we can do ourselves with those special tricks, because you want to leave the N95s that filter them out for the medical professionals, and right, they are most exposed on the front lines. I want to fold in a question from a viewer, Lily Ann Padua Marquez. She's asking, how about shared rides like Lyft or Uber? Do we need to wear a mask as well when we're taking one of those?
Both legally and practically. So, you know, those workers that are giving you that ride, they're super at risk, right? and you're sitting there in an enclosed space with them. They're seeing lots of people every day. Please keep them protected by wearing a mask, and that is required under the, the Bay Area requirements.
Okay, and Randy wants to know, are masks required to be worn by customers in a California state building? Now, this is interesting, right? Because there are some California state buildings that are not in the counties here that are requiring them. So the state doesn't have a ban, on going out without a mask.
Right. Governor Newsom's kind of dropped the ball at this point. A lot of states are requiring masks, and both Republican and Democratic governors are getting behind this important safety issue. For whatever reason, Governor Newsom is not being as progressive as we usually see on these kinds of issues where we're not following the science yet. And I really hope to see that change.
Okay, so basically, if you're in a state building that's not in one of the cities covered by county order, then you actually don't have to, although you would say you should.
As far as I know, there's nothing special protecting state buildings outside of areas like the Bay Area and Santa Cruz and other places that are doing it themselves despite the governor's inaction.
What about the continued thought that, look, if you don't wear it right, if you don't wear it correctly, if you're futzing with it all the time or you put it down on a surface that's contaminated, it's actually potentially more harmful for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that, but my reaction is like, come on, think about it, right? Like, if there's virus particles in your mask, what if two things has happened? Either you're infected, in which case, too late, right? Or somebody infected around you, the mask has stopped the droplets. They're now on your mask and not in your mouth. This is a respiratory disease. You get sick if it goes into your mouth, into your nose, or into your eyes, not onto the top of your mask, or even on your hands, right? I mean, be a bit careful, take it off from the side, put it in some soapy water. But at this point, I've studied so many scientific papers, I haven't yet found a single example of transmission through cloth. So it's pretty speculative issue anyway. It's certainly not more risky than the virus going into your face, which is literally how people get sick.
Okay, well, you've got me convinced, Jeremy. So what we're going to do in the next segment after a short break is we're going to mind the gap. The gap that comes around when you make your own face covering. So we're going to figure out how to cover that. And
I call this leveling up your mask. We're going to level up our mask.
Okay, sounds good. We'll take a short break on the air, but of course you can continue the conversation with us over on our live streams, and we'll be back with Mask Making with Jeremy Howard.
And we're in commercial break.
All right, so folks, Jeremy and I are going to show you how to make two types of masks. So what I want you to do, and Jeremy, you can pipe in, is get some sort of, if you have a mask or a covering, a homemade one, or even like a cloth, go grab it. And if you have foil, right, go grab it. Tin foil, something like that, a wire.
Or a coffee filter foil, but just aluminium foil's fine.
Okay. And then get 3 rubber bands. I've already tied my 3 together.
Biggish ones, not too small.
Not too small. Okay, right. Well, I had that problem earlier. I didn't think my face was that big, but the rubber bands didn't fit, so I had to grab a bigger center one.
Nice.
And then, Jeremy, you also recommend getting a pair of glasses, right? Because of the eyes. Yep. You want to protect the eyes.
Yep, sunglasses are fine.
Okay, so folks, if you also have time and if you have paper towels, grab a paper towel because that's another method in a pinch, and then a couple more rubber bands.
And if you're doing that one, staples, please.
Staples, which Jeremy doesn't have.
And a stapler.
Yeah, stapler, exactly. They're quick, they're easy, and there's certainly a lot better than no protection. Also, if you live in one of the 6 counties in the Bay Area that now require face coverings, then you'll want to have one handy. Now, Jeremy, I wonder if you're seeing stores yet locally that are just handing you a mask as you go in. Are you seeing that in this country? Because I've seen that in some other countries.
Not in this country. A lot of countries do.
Yeah.
There's some great video online showing how Austria's doing this in every store. There's somebody at the front handing out masks to everybody coming in. Yeah. But I haven't seen it yet around here. I don't know if any of the folks watching have. That'd be so cool. Yeah. Really, that would be like such a great customer safety focus for a shop to do that.
All right, let us know on Facebook if you've seen a store or a facility that's just handing out masks as you enter. All right, we're coming back on air.
6, 5, 4, 3.
And we are back with University of San Francisco researcher, data scientist, and Mask for All founder, Jeremy Howard. All right, Jeremy, we promised folks that we're going to just take a few quick minutes and show people how to make a face covering more effective. Mind the gap, if you will. So let's go ahead and get to work.
I love it. Mind the gap. I wish I'd invented that. I'm stealing it. It's great.
Okay, feel free.
All right, shall we create the gap first with a gappy one?
Yep.
So this is my mother-in-law mask. She's a genius, and she's created this lovely mask, which in the default setting, we're going to have the gap. You want to see the gap?
Yes, yes. Let me see
Okay,
it.
I will try and do this without destroying my home studio.
Ah, I see. I see. I believe my nose is flatter and therefore the gap is smaller, but yes, I still have one.
Yes, I mean, it's true. The nose is something I have,
Yeah.
and it's a sign of a great gentleman, I hear. So.
It truly is. Okay, so what do we do about it?
Aluminum, I will try and use
Okay.
the American, aluminum foil. I literally just cut it out and folded it up.
Okay.
And you can use a coffee filter. You see how nice and moldable
Yeah.
this is? So my genius mother-in-law has put this little slip in here for me. Now, if you don't have a genius mother-in-law,
I don't. I mean,
Then
my
you can just use
mother-in-law's a
tape.
genius, but she didn't sew one for me, so
yeah, careful.
Yeah.
Then just pop it in here, or else just use tape.
I'm
Just
taping
stick it
it
onto
like
whatever
this.
you're
Okay.
using. It doesn't matter.
Got
And
it.
the thing is, this is actually what surgical masks have in. I think they might use something more advanced than
yeah.
foil.
Okay.
But it does the same thing, because now what I do after I pop this on is I just push, pop, right,
Yep.
onto my distinguished nose. And now,
Yeah. Me too.
much
Look.
less of a gap. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I get it. So that's better protection. You have that seal.
Okay, so you want to level up another level?
I do.
Okay. So an ex-Apple engineer invented this. Here are 3 rubber bands that I've literally just, hooked into each other.
Yep.
And what I do is I put the middle one around my fingers and put it over the top. This is really important. Under the top of your mask. And then you can either do it depending on how big it is, under your chin or under your mouth.
Okay.
And then behind one ear. And
Yep.
then swap hands. Behind the other ear. And then what I do is I kind of push the fabric in so that it's squishes.
What does that do?
It just means it doesn't fall out so much.
Okay.
Otherwise I'd kind of have to stick my lip out or get Botox or something, which isn't quite my thing.
Well, there's nowhere to get it right now, so don't do that.
Fair enough. Now, have a look at this.
Okay. Oh, yep. I see. Now you have kind of formed a tight seal around the mouth area and the nose area.
So there's actually
Nice.
very few spots for the air to come in now. And so doctors do a breath test at this point to kind of feel that when you breathe out, are you feeling air coming out? And this is actually, it's no N95. And one key thing actually is if somebody around me has been, rude enough to not wear a mask, they can infect me because these droplet nuclei that evaporate out spread in the air. I have stopped them from coming in a lot to the holes, but they could come straight through the fabric.
Right. So what do
So
you do?
what I do to stop that is the genius mother-in-law I mentioned, thank you, Linda, has created a nice pocket for me here to put
What is that,
this
coffee
wonderful nanomaterial, which under an electron microscope looks very, very much almost the same as the inner layer of surgical masks, and it's called a paper towel.
Okay.
And actually, somebody at the National Academy of Sciences with the laser chamber helped me with this, and he found that the nice thick kind of bounty paper towels,
Yep.
just one of them does a 99% good job of stopping the droplets when they come out, and they should do a pretty good job of stopping the nuclei when they come in as
That's
well.
fantastic. Okay, so I wanted to ask you if we have 1 minute left to show me the other method, which
Okay.
is with the paper towel.
So
which
as I mentioned,
you
I'm
told me
too
to-
poor to have a stapler here, so I've just sticky taped it.
Okay.
But this is just a piece of that magic paper towel
Yep.
that I've got, just staple a rubber band onto each end.
Okay, I'll do it.
And then get the piece of foil out, which of course, now that I'm on TV, it's not going to come out for me.
Yeah.
So I get the piece of foil out. Here it comes. And pop it. The nice thing about these pieces of paper towel nowadays is that they have the fold in the middle.
Yep.
So we can just take the foil, pop it in the middle, like so. Okay. And then pop it, mold it,
Okay.
and then over each ear. And then the only other thing I would say for both of these cases.
All right. Hey, Jeremy, we
yeah.
got to finish this up on our live stream
Okay,
because
please
we're out
put
of time
glasses
on
on
the
as
air.
well.
Oh,
because
right.
they can come through
All right.
your eyes.
So the website is maskforall.co, right?
Yeah, with the number 4.
The number 4. Okay.
Masks4.co.
Thank you. Go check us out on
Thank
the live
you.
stream.
And we're in
Okay. All right, Jeremy, we're still on Facebook, so we got a few minutes, a couple minutes. So I didn't do the wire for there. I still need to either tape that or just put it in the middle, right, between the
Yeah, just chuck it
layers.
in the middle. That works for
Okay.
me, yeah.
I mean,
It
look,
doesn't really fall down because at least my nose gets in the way sufficiently.
all right, so a lot of people are asking, could you use, coffee filter?
Yep.
What else works? Name all the things that you could use.
Those are the two I'm aware of. A lot of people say microfiber cloth. I haven't studied it, but it sounds sensible to me. Anything with a nice tight weave. But anybody can get paper towel, I hope.
Yeah, no, do you have any idea, do we have any studies as to what percentage of people are complying in the places that do have these mask orders?
Yeah, we
know?
do. It's increasing rapidly. Obviously, it varies by jurisdiction, but there are places in the US that are up to 70, 80% now. And that's even, some of those even without laws in place. So people are doing a great job of protecting their communities. I think it shows a lot of care.
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's kind of strange when it becomes sort of a political statement because health and politics should be completely separate. But that does seem to be the case. If you look at what happened on the House floor today as House members were debating the relief bill, it seemed that, most of the Democratic members had their masks on and they would pull it down to speak. And many of the Republicans were not wearing them. So.
Well, there
same
are Republican senators like Senator Toomey and governors like Larry Hogan that are coming out strong pro-mask, so it's not entirely partisan.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's not partisan, right? When it comes to health, it's everybody's got
and the
to just work
economy
together. Yeah, absolutely. All right, great information, great tricks and tips. Thank you so much. Always fun to talk to you, Jeremy.
Cheers.
All right, bye-bye.
7, 6, 5. Doctor's note is next. 3, 2.
And we are back. We're able to bring you even more content now. We have this new platform at 3 o'clock every day. That means we get more from our special correspondent, Dr. Alok Patel. He's part of our coronavirus team of experts. Every day, he's going to talk directly to you in a segment we're calling Doctor's Note.
The largest study of hospitalized COVID-19 patients in the United States was just published. I'm Dr. Alok Patel, and I'm going to give you an overview of the important findings in today's Doctor's Note. Now, the study from the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at 5,700 patients hospitalized with coronavirus in New York City from March 1st to April 4th. Now, for all people hospitalized, the most common pre-existing medical conditions were diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. People with diabetes were also more likely to wind up in the ICU with kidney disease or needing a breathing tube. Now, 20% of all hospitalized patients died, and this is in line with previous estimations. But patients needing a mechanical ventilator or a breathing tube had an even higher risk, and almost 88% of them died. Now, the researchers also looked at the presenting symptoms people had when they first came to the hospital, and only 1/3 of them had a fever. And this is surprising because fever is listed as one of the most common symptoms of COVID-19. Now, the other 2 most common symptoms patients presented with in this study were fast breathing or needing oxygen. The median age of all hospitalized patients was 63. And there were more deaths in people above the age of 65, but there were still a lot of deaths in that 18 to 65 age range. There weren't any reported deaths in people under the age of 18. New York City, where the study was done, is different than other parts of the country. But these findings support what we already knew about mortality rates and comorbidities being linked to more severe disease courses. A couple other takeaways from this study is COVID-19 symptoms can vary, and it's not just about having a fever. If you've been exposed or you're concerned, it's your best bet to get tested. And if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, especially diabetes, hypertension, or obesity, it's important, possibly even life-saving, to seek medical care sooner rather than later.
Well said, and that's Dr. Alok Patel. Thank you so much for joining us on this new interactive show, Getting Answers. We'll be here every day at 3 o'clock on air and on live stream, answering your questions. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, ABC7news.com, and our app. Remember, that's kind of where we're getting the questions that we're posing right to our experts. And if we're not getting to you today, if we ran out of time, we'll definitely try to get to you next time. And of course, our next round of experts, always something new. So World News Tonight is coming up next. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
And we're clear.
All right, thank you.